Fitness with New Method Wellness.
Hi, today's guest is Billy Reynolds. Billy is a sweet old dear friend of ours. He actually used to work here at New Method Wellness a long time ago. He is the author of this amazing book called Finding Grace. Oh, it says William. I've never called you William.
No, no.
Since I know you, I've never, so I read your book
Yeah.
and I highlighted some. I'm just going to jump in, just like my favorite parts, because
Okay.
um, I read it at night, and wow, like once I got into it, like I was a little overwhelmed with the authenticity, like how real you were with your readers.
Yeah.
You don't
Uh,
find that a lot in biographies.
well, my life is like an open book, and and Deanna, we do the same thing, right? We teach, right? And my teaching method is people centered, where I, if I have a young kid or a man, or I have to tell my story to win the confidence of them, and then say, hey, if I can do this, you can do it, and then just build that rapport from that little bit of it right there. That's the best thing I could do of building rapport with a new client or a person that's new to recovery. Anything we can do to give that away, we give it away.
It's like
So
it's
you
such a
see,
paying it forward, right?
oh, 100%. We have to pay it forward. If we can't pay it forward, we can't keep the gift that was given to us so freely. Our gift, this is a gift of life, actually. I mean, yeah, we get a life of sobriety and we get to stay sober and we get to have good things, but it's also a life to be able to recognize ourselves and build and break change or bring change into the world, into our families, into our childs, to be able to teach them good values right now. And because our parents did the best they could with what they had, and they just gave us the same traits. So we have to recognize our traits, be able to break that cycle, and then give our kids something better. And then the chain's broken.
It's a
And
very
that's the gift.
powerful it's a very powerful thing to change history,
Absolutely.
right? So when we're
And
breaking the
that's
cycle,
what
we're
we
actually
do.
changing history.
Absolutely. And
So,
we do that within our profession.
yes. So as a writer, I come from a more academic writing, and yours is a very cool storytelling writing. I didn't know you were such a good storyteller. But on page 59 at the bottom, you say, I was fearless of all that, and it seemed to not bother me because it was the cost of doing business and the cost of this never ending war that filled the institution like nerve gas leaking out of the walls. Like nerve
Yeah.
gas leaking out of the walls. That is so visual. What did you think when
Well,
you wrote that?
I wanted people to understand the powerfulness of where we've been and what we can do with where we've been. I was told earlier in early sobriety, Billy, you have a gift. You can use that gift in good, or you can use that gift in bad. What you have free will to use your gift. So which way do you choose? And at that moment, I made a stand to use it with good. What did that mean yet? I don't know. Didn't have an idea what that meant yet. But once I started really opening up and getting that understanding myself and starting to heal from the things that I was broken with, and then I was able to really feel and be able to give it away. And I have to be authentic. Um, and that was one of the lessons that I learned. I think there was a question about what was one of the things that I learned the most in life, right? And it was to trust people, right? Today, and that was probably one of the biggest lessons that I ever had to learn, because I would follow with my heart, and usually that would be broken some way, somehow, of trusting somebody. And today, my friendships have to earn my friendship. Not that I'm this super guy
Yeah,
that
yeah.
everybody needs, but when they have that friendships, it's till the wheels fall off. No matter what, they can, And I do a group like that, and I say, how many people in this room that would take a bullet for you? And everybody says probably 5 or 6 or 7. Really? Come on. One of the only things I got from my father before he took off was, you're lucky if you have 5 true friends in life. Never understood that till I got older. And the reality of it is, who would I take a bullet for today? Honestly, my sponsor and 2 of my sponsees, because we proved it. It becomes sponsor, sponsor, friend, friend, family, family. How can it not be if this person's going to be in your life for 20 some years, right? I
Yeah.
mean, these people are in our lives forever,
Forever.
and I
I've
tell,
sponsored one woman for over 30 years.
yes, and she knows your secrets in that sense, and you know hers. You've probably been through some deaths together, some births together, some
Oh
things like that.
yeah.
So how can that not become family? And that was one of the lessons that I've learned, that someone has to earn that trust right now, because what or that friendship, because when they do, it's for life. It's just the way that it goes.
What do you think that people most understand about you, misunderstand about you?
Um, the love and the passion that I have for the work that I do. You know, um, I'm so excited when somebody gets sobriety, right? I mean, you hear people, um, and I don't see that a lot. I mean, there's very few. We go to a lot of meetings, and there's a lot of people that have things that I don't want. But then there's a few people that have it, right? So, but what they misunderstood about me is the passion that I have when I see somebody get this program. Because their life is just, and the gift of that, Deanna, is I was able just to plant a seed in their life, and then God does the rest. When people cry, my and I see them cry when they're coming over there in the mats and wanting prayer and stuff like that, and they're saying that, "Oh, I'm sorry for crying." I'm saying, "No, everything needs water to grow." So when your tears are coming, you're growing. We can feel again. When we were little kids, what we were taught: little boys aren't supposed to feel. Suck your feelings up, right? So we stuffed them, right? I mean, who's this? And I say that. Who in this room said, "Suck it up, or I'll give you something to cry about"? I know I was one of them that heard that, right? So we didn't cry. We sucked it up. Well, who's to say that we can't feel? I love to see men cry, not because they're weak, because their feelings are coming back right now. They can feel again. Something's alive in them. We planted something in them. God does the watering, and we see them come alive. And that's our primary purpose, to see these kids come alive in our profession.
When I was
Love it.
about 3 years sober, I was living in Texas, maybe 2 years, and I was at this meeting I went to every day with all old people. I was like 24. And everybody was like in their 50s, what I considered old people then, what I am now. And I just cried every day. And I didn't know why or where it was coming from, but every day I'd go to this noon meeting and just bawl through the whole meeting. And I said in my share, I don't know what's going on, why I'm crying so much. And this little old lady came up to me and said, honey, you're just thawing out. You've been frozen for.
Thawing out. Oh, that's awesome.
She said, you've been frozen for such a long time. It's time to thaw out.
Wow, that's powerful.
And I never thought of it that way, but like, yeah, it was time to thaw out, just all that stuff we've been holding for so long.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think your biggest failure has been? And like, what did you learn from that failure?
My biggest failure. Ooh, that's a hard one. I would say, putting my putting trust into people that I didn't really feel that I needed to trust. Like, as a kid, my role models. That I trusted what growing up in the projects kind of thing, and I would go and hang out at the pool hall and think that's what the guys I would trust. And what they were really doing is seeing a young kid and here's some weed, go sell it here. Here's some numbers, go sell it here. And then I
Exploiting
was,
you.
huh?
Exploiting you.
Yes, and not really understanding that and thinking that I was, one of the fellas,
Special. You're special.
special. And because I could I would stick up for my family. I had integrity in that young age. Didn't really know what that meant, but I was trustworthy. I can, the older guys were looking up for me because they can. On hindsight, it was I was younger. If I got caught, I wouldn't get as much in trouble as they would.
Mhm.
So I was holding whatever I was holding for them while they were doing what their thing is. So that was one of the biggest things that I've learned growing up, and you learn that by doing the steps and timelines. I'm a firm believer that people need to do timelines and go back to their earliest memories to see where that road crossed, where it wasn't our fault, or when the dog died and mom says suck it up, or dad says, you know what, so what, and then you're seeing that, and that's a crossroad that we have to pay attention to. So the timelines for me I try to do that with all my clients, just to go back as early as we can. But yeah, that's
It's interesting in your book you talk about your heroes being like gangsters when you were young. And I mean, of course, that looked like success to you, right? As a child or as an adolescent or as a teenager. Like that looks like, they're getting all the outside things that look like they're making them happy.
absolutely. I mean, like when dad took off, mom was single with 4 kids, couldn't make the house payment. We had to move. We moved to the projects, and then about every 3 or 4 months, the guy who owned the liquor store would there come driving through the projects, beeping the horn, beep beep beep. That meant all the kids in the projects can go down candy bar, a soda, and a water. And when we come out with that, we're looking over and you see the guys. This is late '60s in long trench coats and hats and the wads of the money. And wow, that was Billy. I wanted to be just like one of them. And honestly, from that age 8, I took on that role. That's who I wanted to be. And then going to the pool halls, running the numbers, quarter pounds of frontage at 13 years old. You look at a 12, 13-year old right now, it's crazy, and in that age and having 4 pounds of Colombian gold fronted to you, and you're breaking it up in dime bags and selling it in the schoolyard at 12. I mean, that's crazy. But that was the lifestyle. I wanted to be just like that. And then as I got a little older, got into different drugs and so on, and then parents said, you know what, if we don't get this kid out of New York State, it's going to go to jail.
Yeah.
So moved to California and it ended up happening anyways.
It's crazy to me to think about the stuff like you and I did as kids. And I mean, the consequences could have been horrific, and many of them were. But I smuggled a pound of weed from South Africa in 1986 into the United States as like a 19-year-old girl. I had a long skirt on. I looked so innocent. I had a big hat. I was carrying it in my hands in a chocolate box because the chocolate back in those days, the dogs didn't would smell the chocolate before the weed. So these guys like compressed it into under. The chocolate box is like underneath. So
Yes.
they compressed it so it would like fit underneath. So I walked straight into customs and they said, "Do you have anything to declare?" And I said, "Just these chocolates." And he said, "Well, welcome home, sweetheart." And I said, "Well, thank you, sir." And walked right through. Like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Yes.
It's the back in 1986. It was the death penalty for smuggling drugs from South Africa in South Africa.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't have
And,
let me in. Like,
and we don't think of any of that right there. Like within my case, I'm in the hotel room and I'm doing a deal with the undercover cops, and I'm 20 years old, right? And they coming through the adjoining door, and I pull out a 45, racked around and pulled the trigger, racked around and pulled the trigger on the other officer that didn't know that there were officers at the time, thought they were coming there to rob us, but on hindsight, they were officers. Who, what 20-year-old in the right mind is doing things like that. But that, as you know, that started at a young age
Yes.
from walking out of that liquor store, and that's who my role models were, and that's who I
Yeah.
wanted to be, and I took on that role all the way up into adulthood. So that's where the family unit today, as clinicians and therapists, where we have to identify that, and we got to correct the family unit, right, and then bring that up and change courses right there, because if we can do that, that's the coreness of it. If
Because
we
it's
can
a family disease that
want
so many people call us at New Method Wellness and they say, I'm going to drop it off. I'm going to drop them off and pick them up in 6 weeks, 60
right,
days. You fix them.
right,
And I
right,
think we're not a mechanic.
right,
We're going to give them back to you and they're going to be broken again
right,
because it's the
right,
whole system that's broken.
right. Because and it started in them families probably when they were young. One of the things I asked kids or young men in our center, when was the last time? One of the first things to get when I kind of get rapid read my clients to see who I'm going to. When was the last time you guys went on a family vacation together? And then, well, like when you were 11, how did it go? Was mom and dad arguing, or what was going on right there? Where were you guys left alone to do it? So that tells me. So the kid's 25 years old. He hasn't been in family unit since 11 was the last time they went on. There's 14 years of dysfunctional that's going on within the family unit. So that gives me a starting point, and probably you also, of where we can start with healing.
Yeah. Oh, it's so amazing. Yeah. Like you just start. My sponsor says recovery is about gathering up all of your losses and grieving them.
Yeah.
Like start way back, find your
Yeah.
losses, grieve them because back then we didn't grieve them. We just went straight like I'll just have a drink or some sugar or some stealing or some lying or some gossiping or some but I'm not going to feel those feelings. I'm not going to grieve the losses.
Well, and also we might not be alcoholics and drug addicts. We take them away and think our feelings are going to go away, our
Hmm.
problems going away, because that's usually when we can identify them, because we're not, medicating now to get rid of them.
Yep.
So now we got it, and that's where the healing really starts to happen. When we get that away, and chaos is an addiction. You see
Oh
people
yeah.
now they don't know what to do with themselves because we're so involved in the chaos. Now we got it. They're sitting around, doing their thumb. So we have to, educate them on different things. One of the first things I always do too is I go around the room and how old are you today? When I do a group, like with a new group of guys, how's you? I'm 26. No, actually, you're 13. Well, how old are you? Well, I'm 22. No, actually, you're 14. But then I identify and I come back to myself. So when I first got in recovery, how old was I? I was 15,
Yeah.
and I'm in my 40s, right? So,
Yeah.
and then maybe I got my first job, and now I'm 20, and now I'm 43 years old, and I got my little first job, and I'm giving my paycheck to my mommy to pay my phone bill because I didn't know how to do it. Now you guys are 19, and now I'm catching up to it. So the part that I like, I bring myself into it
Hmm.
to make them feel comfortable. But the reality of, as you know, that's the age when they start using.
Hmm.
So we have to
Or
bring it
something
back to,
traumatic happens, one or the other. They start
yeah,
using at 11, or something really traumatic happens, and they stop emotionally developing. It's the arrested development. They'll say, "Why are you always doing groups with like teenage, uh, like I'll do teenage workbooks?" And I say, "Because I'm working with a room full of teenagers."
yes, yeah. And you know what? Another good one that I usually always use: give your addict self a name. My addict
Mm,
self's name is Waldo. So
Waldo.
any negative thought that comes into my head, I can blame it on Waldo,
Yeah. And
right?
talk to Waldo, right? You could
And
talk to him.
I talk to Waldo. Waldo, you can't entertain today, because Waldo would tell me this. This is funny. I'm sober a long time, and I go down the street and I'd see the Brink truck, and Waldo would say, "Look at, you can rob him. He's slipping." Where did that come from? Waldo, right? Waldo, you're pretty crafty still, but you can't entertain today. You're not going to happen. I'm going to have a beautiful day.
So
And
I believe that if we become friends with Waldo, then we can run the show. But if we just hate him and try and push him out, he runs the show. So when my Waldo says to me, this is my thing. We'll walk around our neighborhood and there's like newspapers left out on the, and I go, we could rob that house because they're obviously on vacation. And my husband is like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to rob them. I haven't robbed anybody in almost 34 years. It's just like, but instead of saying like, that's terrible. How dare you think that, Waldo? I go, Waldo, you are hilarious. You are so funny that you think we would rob that house with 34 years sober. We're not going to
Right.
do that today, but thanks for the idea. So it's just like more like, Carl Jung said, become friends with your shadow.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. I mean, that's basically what we do, you know. But I teach them guys that, and then what I'll do when I see them walking in the hallways, hey, are you Timmy today? Are you Waldo? You know, I ask them, the kids, our young men, hey, who are you today? Oh, I'm Timmy today. Oh, cool. I just wanted to check, even if they're not on my caseload. I'm just
Yeah,
because
just
that's
see.
one of the things about it. I mean, I'm involved with all our guys, even if they're not on my caseload. I got
Yeah,
to be involved in.
yeah,
I got to know who they are. I got to do. I mean, and I think I got this from you years ago, where names, claims, and days,
yeah.
right? And
Names,
what?
claims, days, and feelings.
Yeah, I go and I took it a little further and say after that, what have you put in your spiritual bank account today? So what is a
Mm.
spiritual bank account? If you go to Bank of America and you don't have money in there, you can't get tires out for your car. If your truck needs new tires, they're not going to give you none. Same thing spiritually. So how do we put stuff in our spiritual bank account? We make our bed in the morning. We brush our teeth. We put the grocery cart back. We share a cigarette with somebody. First one up makes a pot of coffee for the rest of the guys. We say good morning to people. I mean, just simple stuff that we wouldn't normally do if we were out there using, right? And then I say that. What did you put in your spiritual? I made my bed this morning. And every single group I do that, I ask them that. And then 5 years down the line, I might see a guy who came through our center. Hey, guess what I put in my spiritual bank account today? So there's the gift that we're giving that they're taking this stuff with them. You
And
know,
living it. They're actually
they're
living
living it.
it, breathing it. And you
Yes.
don't even know because you don't think about it. And then, 5 years later, they go, remember when you said that? And you're like, no, I don't remember that. And they go,
Right.
well, I've been thinking about it. I decided to get sober because you said that 10 years ago. And you're like, what? Okay, good
Yeah.
for you.
That's the thing. That's the gift to us. That's one of the things that like one of the other things was like um, what do I think is missing? How can we get people? I mean, what is the thing, the trait that when we see somebody has this trait that they have an opportunity to do it? And I think the willingness or the surrender, they gotta completely surrender. And I ask them that if you guys aren't done, I'm not telling you to go out and go get loaded, but you're not done. Do you want to do it for another 10 years? What do you want to do? I mean, if you're not in enough pain, you're not going to get sober. If you're in enough pain and you hit enough brick walls, something's going to change. But if you're not, you're just fooling yourself. That's one of the things that I always push that. I'm honest. I'm honest with all of them.
Yeah.
Every single person I have to be honest with. And that's the truth. You're not going to cut and dry anything. With them guys, I'm going to be straightforward with you. On the backside of that, I'll be your advocate. I'll go 110 miles an hour. And that's one of the things that some of the colleagues, there was a question, one of the colleagues felt like, what do I do that different from them or something along them lines? And you know what? I'll take guys to go to the bank account. I mean, to the bank to open up bank accounts. I'll have them come over to my house on a Saturday when, pick them up and have a barbecue. I learned that from Ed and Susie years
Yeah.
ago. I mean, you guys, that was one of the things too. I invest in these kids. You know what I
Ed
mean?
used to have like 200 people over on Thanksgiving. He'd pay for all the food. He'd stay up all night preparing it. He'd spend all day cooking it, and then he'd clean everything himself.
Yeah.
And I remember I was there one time on 4th of July, and I said, Ed, do you know what you did today? And he said, what did I do? And I said, you fed all these people, you made them feel loved, you made them feel like they had a home, you cooked, you cleaned, you prepared, you did all. He goes, what are you talking about? I was I don't even think he knows he does it.
Well, you guys had the first house up on the hill up where that new area is, up California Street, right? I think it was Wednesday or Thursday was a barbecue, no matter what. No matter what, Ed had it every week, and you know, them guys they're true friends on that sense. We even though we don't see each other as much. I mean, I had Gracie's second birthday on their driveway in a jumpy house, and there was more adults there than kids, and they just opened up their home to do that. From that moment on, I knew that there was trueness. Anything I could do to be with them,
But
I
you
was
know
going
the
to do.
secret is, I bet they loved it.
They did love it.
They
They
love
did love it.
children. They love
Yeah.
entertaining. They love welcoming people in. They love giving back. That's my favorite thing about them is, I've never called Susie ever in the whole time I've known her and said, "Can you help me with this?" And she said, "I can't." No matter what she's doing, she'll drop anything and just show up.
Yes. You see that about it, and that's one of the rare things that we're saying, like AA is kind of like that. Now I got to move tomorrow, right? Here's an
Mm.
example. I got to move tomorrow, and I tell my old friends, hey, I got to move, and they're yeah, I'll be there. 6 o'clock in the morning comes, waiting for them, right? And I'm calling them up. Where are you guys? Oh, homeboy, you ain't gonna remember. You know what? An hour later, after we left, excuse me, homeboy had announced a speed. We're in Vegas.
Yeah.
What about my move? Oh, homie, I forgot. Now you tell people in AA, they'll be lined up around the corner waiting for you to help you move.
Do you remember back in the day when somebody would go in the hospital and then you get there, there's like 40 people in the waiting room, and all the staff is going, "Who are these people? Why do you have so many people here?"
Yeah,
And their families going, "Who are all these people?" And everybody from program is like, "Are you okay? Do you need anything? Is everything okay? What can I get you? Want me to go to the store? Do you guys need dinner? Let me go feed the kids."
right. Like when my brother got killed like 10 years ago.
I'm
Um,
so
it,
sorry.
yeah, it was one of them fluke things on a bike, and it happened. But I had to end up turning my phone off because the phone calls came. And then when we had it at the memorial at the mortuary, um, there was so many people there. There was 90% of the people from AA. People are around the corner, trying to get in there. And same thing what you just said right now. The people were saying to own the place. Who is this guy? Who was the guy? Because they were all sober people wanting to help. But really, I had to turn my phone off because I was so overwhelmed with people wanting to help and do things. That's the gift of this program. You don't find that. And in early sobriety, like, well, what do these people want? We
Yes.
don't want nothing. We
Yeah,
just we
like,
just
well, how
want
much
to
do I have to
see.
pay? When are they
Huh?
going to ask me for money? And they never do.
Right, right. And another thing I tell the young guys, right, which is really really important. Hey, you want to come out to a meeting afterwards or come out to dinner, and they usually say no because they don't have no money or anything, right? And they might be hungry, right? So I'm taught, what, you got to go because you're cheating me out of taking you out and doing that,
Yep.
and then when you kind of explain it to them that way, they get that, and that's part of it because someone done that to us when we
Yes.
were young, and
Oh,
that's one
yeah,
of the
for
things
sure. A million
right.
people.
Yeah, we'd go to meetings or early and meet them and not have two nickels
Nope.
to rub together, but they're taking us out, and feeling weird. Or hey, do you got some money for gas? I'm on
Yep.
E, but I don't want to take it. Well, here's $20,
Yep.
or was taught, what, put an IOU in that basket, and then when you do have it, write an IOU in there. And then when you got enough money to put some in there, you put $2 in that basket when it
Yep.
goes around. But these are just old school traits that was instilled in us because we had great teaching and
Yes.
people that really wanted to put us under the wing for the right reasons and teach us, what the principles of this program is. And the gift of that, Deanna, with your character, my character, I believe, is we see that and we understand that and we know the gift of that, so we can give that away freely.
People
That's
always say to me,
about it.
"Deanna, you're so generous and kind." And I always laugh and go, "I'm really not. I'm really a
Yeah.
liar, cheat, and a thief." but I'm also a feel good junkie. And being of service makes me feel better than any lying, cheating, or stealing I ever did, or drugs or anything. So, like, I'm glad it's helping you, but I'm doing it because I love service.
Right. I mean, that's part of it too. Like well, I was able to, buy another house in San Clemente. I mean, you got
Congratulations.
you got this dope fiend, convict, heroin addict, but also California homeowner.
Yes.
And every summer around August or so, I invite people over like Ed would do, right? And with our Estella, the singer from the Bridge, she'll come and play acoustic for a couple hours in the backyard
Wow.
while we have a barbecue, and it's just to see and everybody there is sober, And where do you learn that, Billy? I learned that from Ed and Susie. I learned that from Gino. I learned that from the people
Yeah.
that came before me, RB and all
Jack
these
and
other guys.
Jan.
Jack and Jan,
Jack and
right?
Jan. They used to
Jack and
always.
Jan.
Jan brings me. She hasn't done it in a few years, but like I was at a party at her house one time, and I said, "This is the best fudge I've ever had in my life." So every year at Christmas time, the secretary would tell me, "There's a lady here for you named Jan," and I'd be like, "Jan, who's here for me?" She would have a big thing of fudge she made for me fresh because she remembered it was my favorite thing every year.
Yeah.
And then she would have the recipe card. And she said, "Deanna, someday you have to make this fudge for somebody else." And every year I would forget. I'd be like, "Jan, you brought the fudge again." And she'd say, "Oh, yeah, I know you like it, honey. I brought you guys fudge."
Yeah, that was one of the things too. Gino took me to their house, and it was just an unopened arm invitation, and and remembered our names.
Yeah.
That was so important when they remember your names. I mean, people say that, and that's what I say. I try to really when I meet somebody, I try to remember their names for that part of it. Because when I see them again, hey David, how are you doing today?
Yeah. It makes them
Just
feel so
the
good.
simplest little things like that. But where did we learn that from? We learned it from this program,
Yeah.
right? That's who gave it to us, right? The program gave it to us. It gave us a new way of life, a new way to live. And first 164 pages, right, gives us a new design to live our lives. You know,
What do you think the biggest compliment you've ever received is?
um, that's funny. Um, I want to say, I mean, me and my wife was in Vegas, right, and the Dallas Cowboys were there. And we just happened to be out. It was their fan group were there, and we were just happened to be out in the pool. And one of the young players came up and he says to me, he asked me how old I was. I was 59 at that age, and he says, "Hey, I hope I look as good as that. I mean, when I'm 59, as good as you, But really, I mean, that was kind of sticks with gives your ego a boost. But one of the best compliments I ever got was from a family member, a mother, that the kid's still sober. Like you said, fudge. There's a lady named Cindy. Ashley. Her son came through our program and a couple of times, and then finally got it. Every year she sends me some fudge, right? I mean, because she knew, and she thanks me, right? And I mean, on my desk, I got like a blackboard, and I got all these thank you cards and stuff. That's the reward right there, when we get them. So I think that's probably the biggest compliment that I ever had is from a family member saying thank you for helping my son out, or one of the guys. I'm still sober, and what I put my spiritual bank account today, in a text message. I'm 7 years sober right now. Thanks. From a parent.
I have
That's stuff
a
because
girl, you might even remember her. I think she was here when you were here, but she sends me an email every year on her sober birthday. It was probably 9 years ago. And she never forgets. And she always says, "I just want to say thank you for everything you guys taught me." It's just amazing. And then this is my biggest compliment. Yesterday, one of the young girls, she's about 18 months sober. She went through this program. She comes back for alumni every Thursday. And she said, we were talking about tragedies, Deanna, and like living through tragedies in sobriety. And I said, yeah. And she said, if I had a tragedy, I would drive here. I would get in my car and drive to New Method Wellness.
Yeah.
And I would just
Wow.
find somebody here and I'd just sit with them, anybody available.
That's the love that you guys generate from your program.
Well, that was my dream, is to have a place that
Right.
people would say I could just drive there.
Yeah. But again, that comes from the love that you have for you doing. It doesn't seem like work to me.
I know,
That's
right?
you know what I mean. That's the compliment that one of the compliments we get right here. That's kind of like different from maybe other colleagues or whatever.
Mhm.
You know, it does not seem like work to me. But when the light goes on one of these kids, or we're breathing life into, you know, that's our passion. This was our call. I don't know why or how it happened, but you know, having the compassion for what we do. I mean, people say to me, "When are you ever going to retire?" I said, "I'll do this till I'm 90 if I
Me
have to,
too, me
right?"
too. I say that
Because
too.
because it's not a job to me, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. I
great,
can't
you know,
imagine not doing it.
I couldn't imagine not doing it either. Just the way that you know, just the love that we have for it, you know. I mean, and what we give away, we get to change lives. You know, and we get to plant little seeds, and the God of our own understanding gets to water it, and then we get to change lives, and we get to watch the fruit of that. I love seeing people get it. You know, you know, like Juanita, right? I mean, she's a doll, right? She got baptized last night, right?
Uh,
The crazy part about it was, right? Isn't that a gift? I mean, you know, like she sent me a text message. It was kind of not just last night. I mean, and she said, "Thank you." This is another one of the compliments that you know it comes in your heart. She sent me a text. It was a back text message. It was perfect, you know. And she says, "You know what? Thank you for asking me to be the speaker at the bridge because it brought my faith back." Right? And I've been seeing her every Sunday in her same seats, going to church. And then last night, you know, if I wasn't out of town, I would have been the one that baptized her.
oh
But
my
you know,
gosh.
but that look, I mean, look at the gift of that, right? You get goosebumps when them kind of things right there really touch your heart and say, you know what, we're doing something really good here, right? That's the gifts that we
So,
get. You know, this is
my
a
favorite
great
quote is
program.
from St. Thomas Aquinas, and he says, I have been all things unholy. I've been all things unholy. If God can work through me, he can work through anyone.
Yeah, 100%. That's the story that we get to tell.
I
You
have
know,
been,
and
because
that's
you
the
and I
story
have been
that
all things unholy.
on 100%. That was one of the reasons why I felt the book was going to do okay. You know, I mean, if I could change one person's life with it by telling them, "Hey, this is where I was. This is what I've done. This is who I was. You don't have to be that person no more. And look where I'm at right now because of that." Right? We can all make changes in there, you know, and that's what sobriety is to me. That's what being a believer is to me. That's what our profession is about being to me. You know, it. Do we need to make a living? Yeah, of course, but it's putting people's lives back together and seeing where they go with it. That's the gift to me, you know, and that's why I'll continue to do this to them.
I don't know
90
if
years
you know
old.
this, but Jack Grisham was telling me that Bill's dream was for all of us to write our story and for lots of people to read it and be inspired by it. I didn't know that.
You could write probably a good book
Yeah,
too.
yeah, of course. But isn't that interesting that like Bill Wilson was like write your story, and I'd never heard that before I talked to Jack.
Yeah, like if even in the back of the book you see some stories back there, you know, of how they survived it, and I love reading
Yes.
stories to people, you know, like when we do a big book study, something like that. Read some of the stories back there, you know, somebody's testimony. You know, I don't know. One of the craziest things that happened in my life in sobriety is, and this was wild, right? I'm speaking from the podium. I had probably about 10 years sober, and this guy comes up to me, and I talk about, you know, childhood, prison, the whole thing, shootout, and all that stuff. And this guy comes up and he says, "I was there." And I said, "Oh, you were?
Oh
Well,
gosh.
what prison were you in with me?" He says, no, I was one of the undercover cops that was on my case. Uh, I'm with RB, I'm with Mike Costello, and we both looked at each other. He said he broke his back, got addicted to opioids, and now he's in a treatment facility. And he's heard my story that he was one of the officers that arrested me 30 years later.
Oh, wow.
You can't make that stuff up.
No.
We looked at each other and just said, did that really just happen? Or the one with when I was out 20 years later and I was planning on escaping and got my investigator to bring me the handcuff key, and he found it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then I'm out here on the streets and I run into him, and I had an opportunity to ask him why. He said, because I saw something. Why didn't you turn that handcuff key? He says, because I saw something in your eyes that I didn't see in the other people that keep coming in and out of these rooms. Now, and that's 30 years later, and I got to thank him. He introduced me to his family.
Do you think that was a divine intervention?
Oh, 100%. 100%. There's no, that just continues to give us hope, and to share that story with somebody, because you can't make that stuff up, right? And that's what I tell our guys. You're going to have your own story, right? You all have your own story. Your story might be different from mine, but you can touch a bunch of people with your own story. So let's develop your story and see what your story is. And one of the things, write a goodbye letter. Write a goodbye letter to the addict self. Let me read it. Let's say goodbye to them together and start brand new. Right. That's
Wow.
one of the exercises I have them do. It's one of the exercises, like, it gives me a starting point. I get
Yeah.
maybe one line here. Okay, this kid is not too serious right now. Or I
Yeah.
get 2 pages,
Yeah.
really saying goodbye. Okay, cool. I got some really good starting points right here. Where do we go on developing a treatment plan for you? Where do we go? Another one is are you guys staying in California? Or are you going home? Staying in California, then we got to create a bank account. I don't care if you're working at McDonald's. Give me $250 to save it. By the end of the month, you got 1,000. 4 months later, you got $4,000. Our transition is going to be so much easier than having 350 to go back home to what you just left from doing.
Yep.
So there's little things that we do in our profession to really check. I have to check and see where these guys are at, because I got to meet them right where they're at, as you do. We got to meet
I
them right
love
where
that.
they're at, and then we can develop a treatment plan from that to see, hey, what's the reason these guys here? Get mom off the back, get the judge off their back, whatever. And then everybody's equal all the way across till we figure it out, and then go from there.
What do you think is an insult that you've received that you're actually proud of?
Oh, yeah. My 10th grade teacher, right? English teacher, I forget what it was. I can't even remember his name, but told me that I was never going to amount to something. So whenever I get low and I feel like that, I can picture his face, right? And I can tell him, look at me now. And one other one was my case manager. My parole officer wanted me to go into a halfway house and end up being a 12-step program. That's where I got introduced to all this, which is probably a blessing. And I give him credit in the book for putting me in that halfway house, because it ended up being a 12-step program. But my case manager over there, and I took a lot of stuff from him, said to me there was no way ever he would give me $1,000 if I could stay sober for 1 year. Right? He said, you're never going to be able to stay sober for 1 year.
Oh my
And
gosh.
right?
No
But
way. I didn't
but
know this one.
yeah, but he told me that, and I said to him, you know what? From stubbornness and being who I was, I'm going to prove this asshole wrong. That was my head, right? So every year on my sobriety birthday, I call him up and tell him he owes me another $1,000,000. We're at 18 and change right now.
That's amazing.
Amazing, right?
Oh, I think I did know that story. Susie was at Betty Ford, and they told her when it used to be a 28-day program, and she was there for 90 days.
Yeah.
And when she left, they said, there's absolutely no way that you'll make it. That you just aren't somebody who's going to make it. You're going to go drink and die. And so every 30 days, she went up there drove to Palm Springs to give them her chip. because she was so damn stubborn.
Yes, yes.
And
Sometimes that's what it takes.
then she ended up running the Betty Ford program in Orange County, like the alumni program. And then she was like, "Oh, okay, well, now I'm sober. My life is really good, so I don't need to fight with them anymore."
Right. But see that sometimes that's all it takes. Just that little incentive, but you got to read the person now. We got
Yeah,
to know. It's like,
some
come
people
on,
that wouldn't work with.
no, right. It's like you're lifting weights, right? And I use this, okay? Come on, asshole, you can lift it, or come on, brother, you can lift it. Which are you going to respond to? You find out their character, and you poke them with that a little bit. I'm motivational interviewing. Let them, decide, right? You're planting some seeds, and then it's their decision,
Their
right?
idea.
And their ideas, their decision, their ideas, and that shows, hey, okay, we're doing this together. Now you let them make choices on it, but we planted the seed. You give a couple options, and then you go from there.
Tell me what you
But,
think
but yeah,
is what's like an essential personality trait or strength someone would need to be successful in recovery?
willingness. They gotta have. The hardest ones when to get in there is the breadwinners
Mm.
because they're going through a divorce, right? They're got a DUI, they got some things going on, but they don't have a problem.
Yeah,
They're the hardest ones.
it's
But
everybody else's
but
problem.
the ones that is everybody else's problems, right? But the ones that fully want to surrender, that
Yeah.
are completely broken, they got to be completely broken. They got to be in enough pain where they want to make some changes, or we can show them their pain and they get it, you
Mhm.
know, because there's a lot of people that they have to see what they just done
Yeah.
because they're so in it. And once you get them sober, right, for a couple weeks or whatever, right, and they can really see the wreckage that they created, and they're willing to do some work, and then we got a really good chance to enlighten them to a new way of life.
I love
So that would be
inspiring
one of
them,
the.
saying, all of your dreams can come true. There's no reason they can't. And they say, well, like, I can't go to Hawaii. Like, that's a dream that's too big. And I go, no, no, you can go to Hawaii. They're like, no, that doesn't even
Yeah.
make sense. Dream really big. What do you think? Tell me about the three most influential people in your life and how they influenced you.
I would say my sponsor, um,
Great guy.
for believing in me for over 20 years, believing in me, never giving up on me, telling me explaining to me that I did have a gift, and use it to good, and just following direction, right? Well, I was completely needing to this day. I call him pops. I call him dad. You know what I mean? And I'm not ashamed to be able to say that when people are like, "Oh, he's a grown man, you're a grown man." Well, I wasn't when I met him, and he gave me life skills to be a man, where I could pay my own phone bill and bills and stuff like that. He showed me how, and had patience with me, and never gave up on me. And the second one would be um, Chuck Smith Jr. My mom, before she passed, had some Down syndrome houses, and Chuck's kid worked with him. And over the years, before I even knew Chuck, I just knew of him. And my mom had his son Will working with her, and my mom would pray for Will, and Chuck would pray for me. And the day that I paroled, she brought me to the church by the ear, sat me down, got to meet Chuck, nice guy. He invited me to go to Palomar Mountain, just me and him on a men's retreat, just driving up that way with him. And, after getting to know me the second year, we drove again. And he says, "You know what, Billy? I don't prophesize, but God told me you're a good man." And that just changed, right? Right? Just changed my perception of who I was.
It's like if
Just
he can believe
changed.
it, maybe I can believe it.
Just change it. That just changed. He said, Billy, we all take out the trash. I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was so real, you know. And the other one is my mom for unconditional love, visiting me from every single prison, from Mexican border to Oregon border and everyone in between, coming on. This lady was a saint. She came on five visits a year, Thanksgiving, Memorial Day, Labor Day, uh, Christmas, and New Year's. And she would, for the 20 years plus, every year that was her vacations to come visit me. Never, ever gave. When she was on her dying bed, I, I said, Mom, what do you want to be remembered of? She said, seventh row, first seat, Sunday morning, 9:30 service. And every Sunday at 9:30 service, I saved that seat for her. And the last thing she was saying to me, she said, Billy, you made it. I'm proud of you. That just rocks you, when you hear that. I
Would you
mean,
say that you're alive and helpful today to the planet because of your mother's faith?
oh, heck yeah. Yeah. I would say, yeah. Her faith of never giving up. I mean, it was so crazy because I could do something crazy, right? Do this, steal this, or whatever. And she said, Billy's a good boy. You know, she knew my soul,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the heart. I was just had no role models, no direction growing up. She was a single mom, dropped out of high school at ninth grade with four kids. So she was
Wow.
27 with four kids. Now you look at any great mother right now with four kids single, she had to have been crazy,
Yeah.
right? You think about that.
Yeah.
She was a little bit overweight, so she was taken back, and then they'd give her diet pills, which was speed, and
Yeah.
then they'd give her Valiums to come off it, right? Not knowing no better, and then having four kids, being a single mom.
Probably getting it from her doctor.
Their doctor was gonna. I remember driving to her doctor to get him with her. No, that's the crazy. And then so she had no different. She had no idea, but she did the best she could with what she had. But she had faith, and she found Christ, and Christ gave her the strength to visit me all them years and never giving up because she saw the goodness. And that's the third one. That's the three people
I was
that.
talking to somebody today about, I believe if Jesus were here today, in today's time, then we would be the lepers.
Oh, for sure.
The addicts, we're the lepers. We're the
Yeah,
ones,
who did he
and
come?
like, and I don't think I 100% believe in my heart that he would say, "You're my people. I don't hate you because you're a drug addict. I love you because you're a drug addict. I'm okay. I'm going to take care of you, and I'm going to show you a better way of life." I think we are and I belong to this women's group, and we call ourselves the lepers.
That's awesome because we are. Who did he come to save? The tax collectors, the drug addicts, the prostitutes, right? He
The
didn't
lepers.
discriminate. The leopards, he did not
Jesus didn't
discriminate.
walk up to people and go, "Oh, you're not this enough for me. You're not this enough for me." He just like went straight in for whoever needed him. And that's the story of Jesus that I believe.
Yes,
And so I love the idea of us being the lepers.
I like being called a leopard too, a healed leopard. And then there's a saying that I had on here. It was what was it? I wrote it down because I didn't want to lose it. About a wounded healer.
Yeah.
I wrote this down, and I can't find it right now, but it was really important the way that it was explained to me. It was like a wounded healer is someone that can hear someone else's pain without having to share their own,
Wow.
right? Because we're all wounded. That's what me and you are wounded healers. We can hear someone else's pain without having to share our own because we've pretty much addressed it our own.
Yeah, we're on the other side.
We're on the other side. So we can, through our experience, we could tell them they're going to be able to get to the other side too.
It's interesting because I share with a lot of young women things that I've been through, and they go, "I don't believe you.
Right.
Look at you.
Right.
Look who you are and what you do and your credentials and your education and blah blah blah." They say, "I don't believe you," and I go, "I don't care if you believe me. I know I smuggled weed from South Africa. I
Right.
know I slept in my car. I know I did some stuff we won't have to say right now for crack. I mean, I know that." I know that in every soul. I have no shame about it because I've already been forgiven.
That's the message that we give to them. That was one of the messages with the book, that they can we can do that. We can share that with them. We can say, hey, this is what we used to do. This is what we have done in the past. This is what we used to be like. But now, you know what? This is who I am now. We all have a chance to be redeemed.
I have
You
been
know?
all things unholy.
Yes.
When I worked, people see me like on TV or, in different publications and stuff. And I'll see people at my kids' school and they say, "Deanna, you are so kind to work with addicts. The work that you do is so impressive." I go, "Oh, no, I am an addict. I'm a heroin addict and a meth addict. That's why I do it, because it keeps me from relapsing." And their faces are just like, "Well, what did you say?" And I go, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I'm a recovering addict. Like, I did meth and heroin, and that's my thing, and, da 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 da." And they're just like I almost want to like stick it to them and say, "You have no idea what we've been through. Don't look down on us.
Right. Right. And you can't. And
And
that's
don't look at me like I'm some saint. I'm doing this to save my life. That doesn't
right.
make me noble."
Well, our drug addicts and alcoholics get a stigma that, like the alcoholic is the brown bag behind the dumpster.
Yes.
Really, it's the lawyer, it's the judge. I know a superior. I know this is so crazy. I know a convict who's sponsoring a superior court judge right now. You know,
Oh, I had a doctor come in one
and you
time.
you probably know the same.
I had a psychiatrist come in one time and he said to me, "What can you teach me? You have a KDAC and I'm a medical professional, and I just don't know what you're going to teach me because I pretty much know way more than everything you know." And I said, "Well, I can stay sober 20 years and you can't stay sober for one day, so maybe you should listen."
Right. See, that's the clients that we get. There's the breadwinner that I'm talking about.
Yep.
That
Yep.
knows everything,
Yep.
right? So he gets broken down, and then you explain to him his life is unmanageable. Here it is right now. Why? You're going through a divorce. You just got a
Yes.
DUI. You're in
Yep.
treatment, but you know what? Life is peachy for you, right?
Yeah, you're doing great.
So that was one of the things.
Everybody just needs to get off your
Right,
back. What is one question that
right,
you
right.
wished I had asked you, and how would you have answered?
Um, hmm. what I what would I do differently in raising my daughter than the way that I've been raised?
Okay.
And how I would answer that would be was totally involved in her life. Mom didn't have a chance to be involved in us. She was uneducated.
She was
You know,
surviving.
um, she was surviving. She was like I said, a baby with 4 kids. Dropped out of high school. I never was able to do homework. I never done any of that kind of stuff because I didn't have to. I was out shoveling snow, to bring cigarette money to her and, buying shoes for my little sister. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That
yeah.
kind of stuff. But from day one, my daughter Gracie came home. She was in 7th grade, and first brand new day in 7th grade. She says, Daddy, I got all brand new friends. And I said, babe, you know what? You don't have no new friends. What you have right now is acquaintances, because you're going to be in this school for a while and you're going to find the drug addict or the smokers, the vapors, the socials, the jocks, the stoners. And then you're going to find out who you are. And then you're going to develop into the friends that you have right now. I mean, this kid she's here with us, right? But a week ago, she was in Mexico, with the youth church, building a house for a
Wow.
family.
Stop it.
She's done that the last 2 summers, and she's going to Africa
Oh my
on a mission
gosh.
trip this June at 17 years old. So there's the gift of being involved in her life. Never seen me sober, right? I mean,
Drunk.
never seen me drunk, right? Um, I'm involved in her. When she was really young, she was going back. She's not. Mom's not involved in her life, but she would go back and forth, real young. And mom got a DUI, couldn't go back and forth, and she called, and I told Grace that mommy got her car broke, so she couldn't see you this week. And then when Lynn called, Grace goes, "Mom, your car's broke. Your dad shouldn't have told you that," that kind of thing. I didn't know what to do, right? So I went and talked to a child psychologist, and she said, "You open up your wallet and you take out your driver's license, simple as this, and you show it to your daughter and you tell her everybody needs one of these to drive, and mommy got a ticket and she can't drive." For 2 days, I thought about how am I going to do that to my kid, So when I done that, she said, "Okay, Daddy, I get it." Since
Wow.
that day, I've never lied to her. Keep it simple, right?
You don't have to give
And
too many details. Just
no, just really simple, and they get it. Never lie to her again, because that same child psychologist said, what's going to happen is if you lie to your daughter, she's going to grow up resent you, or she's going to resent the mom.
yep.
So these are the things that was going on. So there's the two things that I stay true to, of educating her and being in her life. So that's really important to me.
That's so beautiful, Billy.
Right? I mean, that's the gift of being involved in your child's life.
It's
I get to break
it's
that
more of a
cycle.
gift than it is a
Yes.
chore.
I
Thank you
was like,
so much for coming today.
yeah. One more really quick thing. I
Yeah.
was like stressed out. She was like 10, and she says, "Dad, love and tolerance."
Oh my gosh. What did
10-year
you
old.
say?
I said, "Thank you for that. You're right."
You're like,
And
I
that was
needed to
from a
hear
10-year
that.
old. Right?
Oh my god. Oh my gosh. That's so amazing.
Right? That's awesome.
I'm so happy. Where can people find you online?
Recover you, recover with a U,
Okay.
OC.com.
recoveroc.com.
Recover you. There's a U
Oh,
on there.
recoveruoc.com.
OC.com.
Let me
Yeah.
just put that in the chat really quick. Can I do chat here? Maybe not.
Come visit us. See what we're doing. It's actually really cool. It's really more focused on people could do program really well, but the bridge after that
So
is
it's
broken.
recoveruoc.com.
Yes.
Like that?
Exactly. Just like that.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's what, and because people struggle to that part. They can do program, but we're the bridge after that to keep them focused, to take them to meetings, to develop
Yep.
a life skill program after that.
And
Because
check in when
check
they need
in,
to.
check in, come to a barbecue.
Yeah.
Right? Come meet us.
Give a newcomer a ride to a meeting.
100%. 100%.
Thank you so much, Billy.
Thank you, Deanna, for
So good to
asking
see
me to be a
you.
guest. Yes. Awesome.
Okay, everybody go out and buy Billy's book. It's such a good story.
You can get it on Amazon, please.
Amazon. Go to Amazon. Let me just show it again so everybody knows. It's called Finding Grace, and Grace is the name of his daughter. Finding
Yes.
Grace. Thank you,
By William
Billy.
Reynolds on Amazon. Thank you very much, Deanna.
Have a
Love
great
you.
time in Hawaii. Love you.
I will. Bye.
Stating the obvious with New Method Wellness.